I was only supposed to take out the trash that morning. I came in earlier than usual because the South Wing had been a mess the night before after some investor dinner. My supervisor had warned me to keep quiet around the top floors. People up there, he said, didn't like being reminded that someone had to clean up after them. The elevator hummed as it climbed. I watched the digital numbers flicker -30-2, 33. 34 and stopped when the doors opened to that glass and steel world that always smelled like money and lavender disinfectant. And then somehow I walked through that door. The boardroom was silent, like a vacuum had sucked the air out. A dozen people sat around the table, frozen. At the head stood a woman, Camille Morrow. I'd seen her face in magazines, on TV, on the elevator posters that said things like vision, power, precision. In person, she looked sharper. More dangerous. She turned toward me. The whole room seemed to tilt. "Oh," I said, gripping the handle of my cart. "Sorry, I didn't know." She stared at me like I was a math problem she suddenly didn't know how to solve. Her eyes were the color of storm glass, cold and beautiful, reflecting everything and nothing. "Who are you?" she asked. I almost laughed. "Marley," I said quickly. I clean the South Wing usually. I think I came in too early." She repeated my name like it was a foreign word. "Marley." Then she said it. "Would you marry me?" I froze. Someone choked on their coffee. I looked around, waiting for laughter, but nobody moved. The air had teeth. "Sorry, what?" Camille took a step closer, her heels clicking against marble. I said, "Would you marry me?" My mouth went dry. "You don't even know me." "That's the point," she said. "I've spent years surrounded by people I thought I understood. It's time to try something different." And somehow, before I even knew what was happening, the janitor girl said yes. Or maybe I didn't say yes exactly, maybe I just didn't say no. The next day, I was sitting across from her lawyer, holding a document that could have been mistaken for a mortgage contract. My name looked strange on the thick paper, typed neatly beside Camille Amaro. Camille didn't look at me while the lawyer explained clauses and conditions. "You'll live in my home," she said flatly. "You'll travel with me when necessary. You'll have privacy, and you can leave whenever you choose." Her voice was clinical, but her eyes weren't. They were watchful, like she was studying me for cracks. "I don't understand why," I said softly. "Because," she said, "you walked in when I was about to destroy everything. Maybe that means something." That wasn't an answer, but it was the only one I was going to get. Her house wasn't a house. It was glass and silence spread over 3 floors overlooking the lake. The kind of place that made you whisper without meaning to. I carried 1 suitcase. She didn't ask what was in it. She just gestured to a guest room bigger than my entire apartment. Dinner was quiet. I ate pasta while she scrolled through her tablet. The clinking of my fork sounded like thunder. At one point, she looked up and said, "You can ask questions, you know." I swallowed. "Okay, why me?" A tiny smile flickered. "Because you didn't flinch when I spoke." I laughed softly. Maybe I was too confused to. "Confusion is honest," she said, and went back to reading. Days became a rhythm of almost. Almost speaking. Almost smiling. Almost touching. I'd see her pacing her office at night, barefoot, hair down, a glass of something dark in her hand. Sometimes she'd catch me watching from the hallway. We never said a word. She was a storm I didn't dare name. And yet, somehow, I wasn't afraid of her anymore. Once, she walked into the kitchen at midnight and found me sitting on the counter eating cereal from the box. "You don't sleep?" she asked. "Sometimes," I said. "Sometimes I don't need to." She leaned against the doorframe. "Do you ever regret saying yes?" "Do you?" I asked. Her lips curved, not quite a smile. "Every day," she said, until I remember how quiet it felt before you walked in. The first time I saw her cry wasn't cinematic. There were no violins, no lightning outside. Just a quiet Tuesday when the markets fell and she locked herself in her office. I brought her tea because that's what people do when they don't know what else to offer, and found her sitting on the floor. Papers scattered, her phone buzzing endlessly. "Go away," she whispered. I didn't. I just sat across from her. "You don't have to talk," I said. She looked up. Mascara smudged. "You're not supposed to see me like this." "I already did," I said. "In the boardroom." Something in her broke then. A soft sound escaped her throat, half laugh, half sob. She leaned her head against the wall and closed her eyes. For the first time, Camille Morrow looked human. After that, things changed in ways too small to name. She started asking about my day. She began leaving a second cup of coffee beside mine in the mornings. Sometimes I'd find her in the kitchen just to say goodnight. It wasn't love. Not yet. It was something quieter. Like the sound of rain on glass, persistent, familiar, almost unnoticed until it's gone. Once, she asked me, "What did you dream of before this?" I laughed. "Dreams cost money. I didn't have enough." She looked away. "Maybe you will now." But that wasn't what I wanted from her, and I think she knew it. Word leaked. It always does. A journalist caught wind of Camille Morrow's mysterious marriage. Camille handled it with her usual grace-cool denial and a smile sharp enough to end careers. But that night, she sat on the balcony, staring at the city lights like they owed her answers. "They'll say you married me for money," she said. "I don't care what they say." "I do," she admitted quietly, "because it might be true." I turned to her. "I didn't marry you for money. Then why?" I took a breath. "Because you asked like you meant it." She began traveling more, meetings, mergers, markets. We'd talk over video calls, short, clipped conversations where she looked tired but softer. Once, she fell asleep mid-call, and I just watched her breathe, light flickering over her face. When she came home 2 weeks later, she hugged me. It wasn't planned. It wasn't polite. It was desperate. "I miss this house," she said into my shoulder. "You mean you miss me?" I teased. Her silence was the answer. It happened one evening when the world outside turned gold. She came home early, loosened her tie, and said, "Come with me." She drove us to the edge of the lake. The wind smelled like storms again. "I thought marriage was a strategy," she said quietly. "But then you kept showing up in the quiet moments and the noise. You never asked for anything. I didn't know I could." She looked at me, then really looked. "You changed everything without trying." I shook my head. "No, you just started listening." A year later, the contract expired. The lawyer sent an email. "All obligations fulfilled." Camille printed it and handed it to me. "You can go," she said. Her tone was calm, but her hands trembled. I folded the paper. "Do you want me to?" She didn't answer. She just looked at me like she was waiting for me to run. "I stayed this long," I said softly, "because I wanted to. Not because you paid me. Not because of the contract." Her eyes glistened. "Then what now?" I stepped closer, heart pounding. "Now we start over. Without papers. Without pretending." Camille nodded slowly. "Okay." And for the first time, she smiled, really smiled. Sometimes I still wake up before her. The lake is quiet, the city still asleep. She sleeps curled toward me now, hair falling loose, the sharp edges gone. People still talk. They always will. But when she opens her eyes and whispers, "Morning, Marley," it feels like the world has finally stopped trying to explain us. I never thought love would sound like silence. But with Camille, even silence speaks.